Hey, everybody. Good to see you here on a Wednesday night. Wednesday night at 9 o'clock, and excited to be bringing this message to you tonight. I know we have a lot of people right now who, glad you're on. Hey, AJ, how are you? Good to see you, my friend. Good to see you. Good to see you. Got some people coming on tonight and that are looking for how to get unstuck. Let me get my Facebook live going here. There I am, so I can see who all the people are. There's Rachel on here, Amanda on there, AJ. Good deal. Hi from Jana. There's Jana Clinton on there. Good to see you. So tonight we're here to talk about getting unstuck. Unstuck in 2020. Unstuck in your life, unstuck in your business. And, some of you know exactly what I'm talking about. Rachel just said, I'm stuck. And what you got to understand about life is this, life is full of ups and full of downs and full of twists and full of turns and full of positive and full of negatives. Sometimes you're happy. Sometimes you're sad. Sometimes you're excited, sometimes you're frustrated, and thank you on my camera in the back. Who is that? AJ likes my camera. Rachel. Here's the deal: is what you have to understand is that that's the way it is for everybody, not just you. Hey, Debbie Stella, good to see you on here. Glad you joined us. So the ups and downs, the ebbs and flows, everybody goes through those. Whether you're young, the older you get, the more you realize that everybody goes through ups and downs, and there's some, and occasionally, there's some even keel stuff. Occasionally things are going smooth, and here's the deal. I mean, anybody can do well. Anybody can have a positive attitude when things are going well, when you got plenty of money in the bank and you're loving your job, you're in a good relationship, you've got good health, the weather's good, everything's working right for you, it's just perfectly going along. It's easy to be positive and to feel good. The kids are acting like they're supposed to, not acting up. It's easy to be positive then. But listen to me. It's when you're down that you need to think about what you're doing. When you're down is when you need to realize and take a serious look at where you are and why you're there. When you're frustrated with things and things aren't going your way, how did I get here? How did I get here? How did I make this? One of the favorite quotes that I love is, all of us are self-made, but only the successful people are willing to admit it. Isn't that something? All of us are self-made, but only the successful people are willing to admit it. And when you're down, when things are rough, when you're stuck and you're trying to move forward, and it's kind of like when you're in your dreams. When you're dreaming, you just can't run fast. It's just that you can't do it, no matter what or who's chasing you, whether you're trying to get out of the way of a train or you're running from. You can't run fast, and you can't hit hard. You just can't. You can't. It's just whatever it is, and that's the way it feels sometimes. And that's when you really need to. That's when you got to grow through it. That's when you got to grow through it. You see, it's when you're in it. Will you handle it with grace? When you're having a frustrating time, I remember one time that I was going through a really frustrating time, and my dad said to me, son, until you handle it with grace, it's going to remain in your face. And I'm like, you didn't need to tell me that, because listen, it stayed with me it was in my face for a long time. I struggled with it. I was frustrated with it. And so people go through stuff. You get stuck sometimes in life. I had a good friend of mine who was going through a divorce, and people nowadays, I think the numbers are close to 60% of people who go through divorce, but a divorce in some places, you can be divorced for 3 months and file for for divorce, separated legally for 3 months and file for divorce. Some states you have to be separated for a year and then file for divorce. This good friend of mine, it took him over 6 years. 6 years to get divorced. Now why? Because he was stuck. You see, he didn't believe in divorce. He's a Christian man, and he said, the Bible tells us not to get divorced. And the whole time, his wife is living in the big house on the water and loving life, and he's still paying, her cell phone bill and paying her insurance and helping with the mortgage, and he's living with his mother. Now, we're not talking about a 20-something-year-old kid. We're talking about a 55-year-old man who did that for 5.5 years because he was just stuck and he was miserable. And he's a good friend of mine. We talked about it all the time. And I used to say, why don't you stop doing that? Why don't you put your foot down and say, listen, we're either going to be together or we're not? And he just couldn't bring himself to do it. I guess just staying in that situation was easier. And sometimes we stay in a situation because it's just easier. It's just what we're used to. We get comfortable. But the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. He tried numerous ways to figure out how to get his wife back, how to get his life back, how to get he wanted it back. She didn't. I kept telling him that. But she would string him along, and she would string him along. And she would, it was just a big game. And finally, he said, look, I'm tired of this. Finally, for whatever reason, he got sick and tired of being used, and he got out. And now he'll talk to me. We talked all the time about him. He calls me up now and goes, why didn't you tell me this sooner? I'm like, I told you this for years. Well, why did I stay in it so long? I don't know the answer to that. I wish I would have done this sooner. Yeah, me too. Because it was an emotional time for him. When you go through something like that and you're stuck, you're looking for reasons to figure out why, figure out whatever, and see, none of that matters. The whys, once you say, I'm moving on, once you say, I'm out of it, then you can move on and you can let go of it. And the whys don't matter, but just learn from it and don't do it again and say, I'm out of this. There was a gentleman who he lived in his house, and it was him and his wife and his 2 daughters. And the house caught on fire about 3 o'clock in the morning. And when he woke up, realized the house was on fire, he panicked. Didn't know what to do. So he ran out of the house. When he got out of the house, he heard his wife and daughters in there screaming, yelling, looking for help, trying to get out. He tried to get back in to save them, but he couldn't. The fire was too hot. He couldn't go back in. He tried different windows. He tried looking around. He's like, oh, my God, I got to save him. And he did. And pretty soon the screaming went away. And then the fire department got there, and it was too late. And so, when his family showed up and his brother-in-law showed up and found out that his sister, had died, and his 2 nieces, he just started yelling at him and saying, you're such a chicken. You're such a chicken. Why did you go in? And he got stuck like that for years, and he became homeless. And he would wander the streets, and he carried 2 baby dolls with him and a picture of his wife. And people just saw him and thought, the man's crazy. What's wrong with him? And he would walk up and down the streets, and he just wouldn't say anything to anybody. And he was going through major depression. He couldn't deal with the fact that he had felt it was his fault. But then eventually he found some hope, and he found some people to help him, and he got involved in a church and got some guidance and got some help for himself. And it took many, many years. He's never gotten over the loss of his wife and kids, but he got stuck. And the mind is a powerful thing, and you got to realize you got to do that. Listen, we've all been through situations. Let me tell you about a situation that I went through. Many of you talk about the restaurant business, and I went through success in the restaurant business, and we were blessed. I was one of the original founding members of Lone Star Steakhouse, and we took that company public in 1989. And so we did very well. We were very successful. We were very successful. And when you take a company public, you're not the owner anymore. We had made a lot of money, and so I decided in 2000 to get out of the restaurant business. And in 1999, when my daughter said, "Dad, I'm going to be a senior in high school," and so I took all the money that I had made, and when I came home from working from being traveling in the restaurant business, we had restaurants all over the country. I ended up going through a divorce because my wife we had a great life. We had what people considered the model family. Everybody was just shocked that we were getting a divorce. But when I came home, I realized that's my wife didn't want me home. She would much rather me be on the road. And we won't go into the long, gory details, but it kind of made it difficult for her to see her boyfriend if I was at home. And so we went through a divorce. And we had 2 other businesses, and I gave her the gymnastics and all-star cheerleading business and said, "You can have that." And I said, "This other business I'm going to sell." And I was out of the restaurant business. And so I moved away. I wanted to get away from it. So I moved away about an hour away, and I started opening up telecom business stores, Sprint stores and Nextel stores, where you go in and buy cell phones, And my brother had been in the telecom business, and he said, it's a good gig, but the profit wasn't there. And I was a franchisee, so I had a franchise. I was like, they called them indirect dealers, but you're a franchise. And so when Sprint bought Nextel and they changed the game and changed the rules, I realized that it was time to get out of that business. It was time to get out of that business. And so I sold it. So I sold the business. And because as I was staying there, I'd been stuck. I mean, I could see the writing on the wall that the franchisees, the dealers, they weren't going to make it. That wasn't their goal. That wasn't their vision. So I said, I'm getting out. I'm getting out now while the getting's good. And so I sold my business to a man. I can still see him today. I still know his name, And so I sold it to him in January the 29th. And it was a tricky deal, and he tried to back out on me at the last minute, and I lowered the price and got him to sell it, got him to buy it, and really gave him a great deal. And because I just wanted out. So the next year, the manager of the franchisee, the franchise business manager, called me up and said, "Hey, I need you to come by the office down here in Charlotte and sign some papers so that we can tax him on the residual income." You see, when you're in the telecom business and you have a cell phone and you buy it from one of the stores, then every month when you pay your bill, I got a residual income from all the stores that I had. I had several stores, and when you bought cell phones each month, when you paid your bill, if you stayed for 5 years in that company, then every month for 5 years and you paid your bill, I got a residual income, kind of like auto ship is in our business. You see, in our business, auto ship. And so I said, okay. I said, well, we already did that at the closing when I sold the business to the guy. We already went through all that paperwork. He said, I know, this is just for our records. And his CPA has requested this form. And so we're just trying to oblige him so that we can release the 1099 for the income for the past year. And I said, okay. Well, listen, I should have known better. I should have said something doesn't smell right. I should have said we did all that at the closing, and I had a closing attorney, or he did, but I did. I trusted this guy, and I went down there and I signed the papers. Well, then about a year and a half later, you see, when I sold him the business, he took over my office. He took over the locations. I walked away. And so then about a year and a half later after that, so it's been 2.5 years, I go to get gas at a gas station. It's one of those old gas stations, a couple of pumps out front. And they look like they maybe had just, the thing where you pay outside was probably 10 years old. And listen, I had all my money was in this bank. And it was a lot of money, but it was all the money I had. And I had a little bit of cash stuck away here and there. But anyway, I put my credit card in, my debit card in to get gas, and it declines it. And so I'm like, well, that's kind of weird. It must be these old pumps. So I go inside to the guy, and I said, here, pump, something's wrong with it out there. And I try to get gas. And he says, sir, it says the car's declined. You don't have any money. I said to him, I said, I got over $50,000 in this bank. I know for sure. And I know I got plenty of money in the bank. It's just not even count my savings. I got money in the bank. And he said, sir, I don't know what to tell you. Well, I had cash on me, so I paid for my gas and I went on my way. And I leave and I call the bank. And the lady says, well, didn't you get the letters from the IRS? I said, no. So this guy had tricked me, you see. I had signed the papers a year later, and that whole year of residual income that had been paid to him, he didn't claim it. So guess what Uncle Sam wanted me to do? They wanted me to pay it. They said, you owe us $257,000. And so we took all your money out of your account, your savings account, your investment account, and your checking account. They took it all. Now, I didn't do anything wrong, except trust the guy, except go down there and sign the paper without having another attorney look at it, without all that. But the guy screwed me. He did. And I'll tell you what, it hurt. I mean, I was angry. I was mad. If I could have seen that guy, I don't know what I would have done. I'm glad I didn't see him. And I didn't go to his office. And I tried to call him. And of course, he wouldn't return my phone calls. And well, he'll get back with you and blah, blah, blah. And of course, now we're talking about almost, 20 months later. And so I held a grudge. I got stuck in that. I got frustrated. Here I am out there, now I'm in the direct sales business. I'm building a business, but everything I got, I had in this bank, besides a couple of small investments, gone. Call the IRS. They go, sorry. I said, I want to, protest this. I want to, this is not right. They go, sorry. Pay us the money. We'll talk about it. And so listen, I could have stayed stuck. I could have let that keep me down. I could have stayed frustrated at that guy for years. Listen, this guy sent me a friend request like 2 years ago. Can you believe that? Sent me a friend request on Facebook. I'm like, you think are you kidding me? I'm not accepting your friend request. And but I had to step back and I had to think about that, and I had to not let that define me and my future and where I was going and what I was doing. It was a lesson. It was a tough lesson. It was frustrating, but it was a valuable lesson that I learned about. Hey, you can't try. I mean, business is business, and you got to have an attorney present at a closing. And if you then come back later with some more papers, you got to give them to your attorney. Let your attorney do that. And sometimes you got to take a step back and say, what was I thinking? Why didn't I should have known better? So I had to assume responsibility for that and move on. It happens to everybody. People have things. Millionaires. Walt Disney went bankrupt 6 times. 6 times. 6 times. Colonel Sanders got turned down 1,000 times. Right at that, hundreds and hundreds of times trying to borrow money to start his own chicken business. No, we're not giving you any money. No, we're not. It's a stupid idea. No, you're going to lose money. No, we're not getting in the restaurant business. Everybody makes chicken. Nobody's going to come to your restaurant and buy chicken. They make chicken at home. He got turned down hundreds and hundreds of times. Elvis Presley, when he went on the Ed Sullivan show, and they banned him from television, and his record contract company canceled his record contract because Ed Sullivan said he's nothing but a thug. Elvis Presley. Everybody goes through that. You listen, the weeds are going to grow in your life. Weeds don't need a motivation to grow. Weeds will grow anywhere. Weeds will grow in the concrete. But see, if you want to grow tulips, if you want to grow orchids, if you want to grow roses, you got to figure out exactly how to do it. My dad loved to grow roses before he died. And he knew how to trim them, where to trim them. He said, listen, when they come up and they do this and they split and there's 3 of them, you trim right below that and it'll get even bigger and produce more roses. He knew what to feed them. He knew how often to water them. There was a knack to it. But a weed will grow anywhere. And you just can't let the weeds get you down. You can't let the weeds slow you down. See, your mind's the same way. Your mind's the same way. You can have weeds growing in your mind. You can have weeds slowing you down, holding you back. Does that make sense? Are you with me on that? Have ease. And you've got to say, you know what? I'm going to make it. I'm going to be successful. I have the ability to be successful. And you see, the beautiful thing about the direct sales business is it doesn't matter where you come from, what your past is, what your education level is, how tall you are, how short you are, how heavy you are, how light you are, what color your skin is, what your religion is. Everybody has the same opportunity if they want to do it. You got to say, this too will pass. This too will pass. See, it always does. You see, it always does. That's the way life works. You got to realize something. After summer comes what? Fall. After fall comes winter. Winters can be tough and even tougher depending on where you live. But you got to realize that after winter comes what? Spring, and comes summer. The same thing happens. After night comes light. You know, things are going to get better. Things are going to get improved for you, and you're going to have it better. You can't give up. You can't give up on yourself. You can't give up on your family. You can't give up on your goals and your dreams. You got to realize that things are going to get better. Things are going to get better. So when you're stuck, you got to say, okay, why am I stuck? What can I do to change that? See, because you are where you are. I read this today on a calendar. Okay, and let me see if I can't find it right here. But here's the deal. The bottom line is this, is you are where you are based on, because you choose to be there. You choose to be there. You are the results of the decisions you've made and the activity that you've done. And if you want to change your life, then what you have to do is you have to change your life. And it starts with your mind, and it starts with what you believe in. You see, you got to say, I choose. You got to start telling yourself, hey, I'm so happy and grateful now that. Now that what? You may say, I want to be a star ambassador with Touchstone Essentials. I want to be the top income earner with Touchstone Essentials. Why not you? You can do that. You know, I'm so happy and grateful now that I am a star ambassador and driving one of those brand new Tesla Model S cars, making Eddie pay for it. You see, making Eddie pay for it. You can do what you want to do. You can be who you want to be, but you got to make the decision. You got to make the choices, and you got to believe in yourself. You got to believe in yourself. Sometimes when you get down and get frustrated, all of us do, you got to say, hey, you know what? I'm going to take some time to myself. I was just talking with somebody on Monday, and they said, you know, I took last week, and I just had to have some time for myself to get my head cleared out, to start thinking about where I was, because I kind of felt stuck. Now, if I told you who this was, you'd go, really? You'd be surprised. You'd be shocked. They feel stuck too. Yeah, we all do. We all do. You know, sometimes when I get frustrated or down, I want to be alone. That's okay. I want to be alone. I want to be able to meditate. I want to think about where I'm at in my life, what I'm doing. I'm 60 years old. I feel like the best 20 years of my life are still ahead of me. I feel like I'm just now getting started. You know, sometimes you want to listen to music. Some people want to meditate. Some people want to read a book. Some people want to listen to a motivational speaker. Whatever it is that helps you be able to relax and meditate and think about where you are and what your goals are and what you want to do, and help you shake it off. You see, that's the main thing. And now, what gets you unstuck is activity, is action. You got to take action. And it doesn't matter if it's just a little action. A little action will create a little bit of result and give you a little bit of good feeling about yourself. You'll feel better about yourself. And tomorrow morning, instead of laying around the bed till 10 o'clock, get up at 7. If 7's too early for you, get up at 8. Get up a little bit earlier. Stay up a little bit later. Put forth a little bit more effort. Focus on what you want to do. Find out what it is and say, you know what? I can do this. I can do this. You know? And so you have to decide what it is you want. And you have to realize and visualize and imagine that. And see, visualization is strong. Visualizing where you want to be. Listen, I used to live on Lake Norman, had a beautiful home up there on the lake, loved it. I enjoyed it. I was there for, probably 14 years. You know, and so I didn't never plan on living at the beach and living in a beach house down here, but that's where it's got me. But I love the house that we're living in. And you see, when a man and I were looking for a house, we started looking about a year ago, and the market's kind of up and down, and it's really a seller's market, not a buyer's market. And we were trying to decide whether we want to build, whether we wanted to, buy, whether we wanted to look at the development, whether we wanted to get, 5-6 acres of land. We were trying to decide all that. So we were out. So the best way to do that is, if you want a new car, you go look at the car. If you want to drive a Tesla Model S, go test drive one. If you want to drive a Mercedes, go test drive a Mercedes. You might want to drive a new Cadillac, whatever you want to do. We were going looking at houses. What are we looking for? I said, if you want to build, go look at some houses, give you some ideas. So we went in this new development. It was a nice development. And so you go in a model home, and they have, I think they had 5 different models you could choose from. And then you say, if you say you want that lot and you pick this floor plan, and then this is the floor plan you want, then once if you do that, you can make customizations. You can choose the carpet, you can choose the tile, you can choose whether you want crown molding, whether you want custom molding, whether you want granite, whether you want, you can choose all those things and kind of customize it to yourself. And she found one that she loved, and she got one of the flyers. They had the blueprint, the floor plan laid there, but it had a picture of the outside of the house, and it was, this is a model home, and so she put it on the wall by her nightstand. And as you know, if you don't know, you might not know, we just moved to Carolina Beach a couple of weeks ago, and we got a house down here, and it's a bigger house, and it's got plenty of room, and I've got you can see the office behind me now. I've got plenty of office space. I'm not crammed in. I don't have to do a green screen all the time, But so it's funny because here's the deal. Is we're moving stuff out of the bedroom and packing stuff up, and our youngest, who is 8 years old, Ethan, walked over to the picture that was on the wall beside her nightstand. And he said, look, there's a picture of our new house. And see, we'd seen it every day. We'd looked at it every day. It had got to where it was just like there. You ever driving from work to home or work to or home to visit somebody, and you drive for 30 minutes and you go, how did I get here? Because it's just subconsciously, it takes you where you want to go because you subconsciously know that you're going to get there and know where you're going. That's the same thing about a vision board and about visualizing what you want. And we had not even talked about it when we saw this house. We hadn't even said, wow, that looks like the house that's been hanging on the wall for a little over a year by your nightstand. But when Ethan said that, look, there's a picture of our house, 8-year-old. We're like, oh my gosh, it's a picture of our house. So listen, if you want to get unstuck, you got to decide what you want, what your goals are, and you got to make things happen. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over and expecting a different result. If you want to change your life, then hang around better people, get involved in self-help, listen to motivational stuff, read the book Think and Grow Rich, which is what our book club of the month is. Read, study, get training. If you need coaching, you can get coaching. If you want to do, with Ray Higdon, Rebecca said you have to be okay with being rich to reach your full potential. What he said is this: if you want to be rich, and not everybody, listen, rich is different to different people. Rich is different to some people. Some people, $70,000 a year is rich. Some people, $70,000 a month is not quite where they want to be. But if you want to have a house at Carolina Beach and be successful and have a lot of money and you visualize that, if you can't see yourself in it, you won't have it. And what the statement is talking about, and thanks Rebecca for sharing that. And Rank Makers Live is a great program that you want to get to if you're looking for coaching and support. But here's the deal. Here's the deal with that statement is if you don't like rich people, if you don't like wealthy people, if you're jealous of people who have success, you'll never reach the level they're at. So you've got to be comfortable in your mind. You got to cheer them on. You got to be a cheerleader. You got to be cheering those people who are having success. You got to be cheering for them, knowing that I'm going to exceed that. I'm going to be bigger than that. I'm going to achieve my goals and my dreams and whatever they might be. So listen, it's 9:29. I wanted to keep this at 30 minutes. I want to tell you something. You, each and every one of you on this call, whether you're watching this live or whether you're watching the recording, have greatness within you, and you have the potential and the ability to achieve success and to be as successful as you want to in life. You have it within you, the talents and ability and knowledge. You have to keep working on yourself, and you have to learn. If you want to be a great football player, you got to study from great football players. If you want to be great at network marketing, you got to study great network marketers, people who have been there, made and been successful, and listen to what they teach you and follow the proven system. But there's nothing keeping you from achieving your success if you truly want it. You truly want it, you visualize it, and you say, I choose this. I'm so happy and grateful now that I'm a star ambassador and driving one of those new Tesla Model S's, white, tan leather interior, blacked out wheels, chrome grill on the front that we put on there with a sticker, the whole bit. Whatever it is you visualize. Don't forget that. You have the ability and you have greatness within you to achieve your success and to achieve your goals. Once you decide on what they are and you commit to yourself and you believe in yourself, you will achieve. Have a blessed night. Love you guys. Appreciate you tuning in. Talk to you soon.